Hello. We'll see if we have any friends join us today, because honestly, it's been a while. Book club is out of rotation. But either way, today I will be talking about the Tom Nabbe book From Disneyland's Tom Sawyer to Disney Legend, The Adventures of Tom Nabbe. And a quick note, in the back of the book, I did notice that I was almost going to say one of the characters, one of the people that was mentioned in this book quite a bit, also has a book of the same style, From Jungle Cruise Skipper to Disney Legend, 40 Years of Magical Memories at Disney, and is the story of William Sully Sullivan. So welcome everyone. Oh, let me put the comments on because I don't have the comments on. So say hello, let me know who's here if you want to chat. That would be awesome. And if you're here and you read the book, please let me know. If you're here after and you read the book, you can always leave a comment. You can always message me. Whatever feels nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started because I'm not sure how many people are gonna join me today, but I do have some friends that join me later on for the replay. So let's kick it off. So I wanted to first just talk about how I felt about this book. I really enjoyed it. It was a really cozy read. It was kind of what I needed right now. And I was thinking today, how funny, how funny of a comparison is it that we read like The Ride of a Lifetime? Hello and welcome and thank you. We read the Bob Iger book, and then now to read just a completely different story of, this is like a whole lifetime at Disney, this gentleman. So the Bob Iger book is like, a lot of those books that we've read in the past, they're a Disney person, someone who's worked at Disney, did something creative or worked in the parks, and had a lot of those had a different take. They weren't just the person's story, they were like self-improvement, inspiring books. And this one was more of a person's story. I really liked it. And just as a reminder, I wanted to read this book because I was at the DisFam reunion, which was an event that benefited Give Kids the World Village, and there were a lot of Disney, I don't know what you'd call them, historical Disney figures, notable Disney creatives, and people who have had a hand in making Disney parks, movies, music, what it is today. There were a lot of people there that I got to meet. I got to interview some with Jim on stage. That was really neat. But this gentleman was there, and we actually read about some of his stories in another book, in Lou Mangello's book. I'm not sure if that was this year or last year. And I let him know I saw this gentleman there. We got to take a photo with him. And then after, when he was on his way out, I said, I have a Disney book club, and we read Lou Mangello's book, and I read about you in that book. And he said, well, why didn't you read about me in my book? And I was like, well, we will. So here we are, and thank you if you bought it and read it along with me. I was very excited to purchase it directly from his website so it would come signed, but I also have a really big heart for this isn't a small business, but you know what I mean? This is like buying somebody's direct story, like right from them. And that kind of stuff means a lot to me. So in case you're happening upon this video and haven't read the book yet, if you buy it from his website, it will also come with a picture of him and Walt Disney, and I was able to put my name in and get it personalized, so it says to Nicole. So yeah, let's jump in. So what was really neat about this was reading the beginning of Disneyland from one person's perspective. He was there opening day, for the preview, and just hearing about how it wasn't perfect, And the little interesting personal stories, like his mom being very fascinated by celebrities and liking to get autographs and such, and being so interested in Disneyland that she moved her whole family to this community to be near it. Um, I just thought, like, wow, this is a person whose whole life is truly wrapped up in and around Disney parks, and mostly Disney parks, but I mean, the parks kind of represent everything, right? So yeah, that they went to try and get some autographs and see some celebrities and whatnot, enjoying the preview, and then were, um, you know, I don't know who any of these like older celebrities are from shows and whatnot. And I think it was named a man named Danny Thomas gave that said like, "Oh, are you coming in today?" And she was like, "No, we don't have a ticket." And for us, so like an actor to be like, "Oh, do you want my like VIP ticket to get into Disneyland?" Like, how? That's like some fairy tale stuff that like doesn't happen. So that was really neat to just think about how quaint it was, how easy it was to just be like in the right place at the right time back then. And because he had a few interesting things like that he got to ride the ponies to try and like get or it was a pack mule, right? Like a donkey rides. He helped with those animals to get them familiar and comfortable with riding around Disneyland with people. So, I mean, he was there before the park opened and started, and just to think about a time where there weren't Disney parks, like, I mean, I was born in 87. I'm sure, I mean, maybe there's somebody on here who lived before then, but I think a lot of my people are probably have always had Disneyland and or Walt Disney World around in their life. So just to think about him and his humble starts and watching it be built and all the cute little things he did with selling the paper and just being back in a time that was like so much more simple and just different. And Disney was so simple and different. So I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a lot of fun. I really liked the foreword too, and I'm interested in reading more about this gentleman's story. That was by Charles Ridgway, I think. Yeah, and how just to think about all these different creative people who contributed to Disneyland, Disney World, Disney parks, and how their stories overlap. I mean, these are all like, if you can just read all these different people's books, they all mention each other and you like kind of learn what people did and stuff. There aren't credits at Disney. People don't get individually recognized very often. There are just a few honors, right? Like the Windows on Main Street, the Disney Legends, and then, you know, movie credits and shows, and we hear who like the singers are in the movies and who does the voice talent and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the parks, and even a lot of the art, you know, different art on things, we don't get to know who the people are. So that make these things, you know, and I really truly, with my whole heart, respect every single person, especially the ones in the parks, from the, you know, people managing the whole park to, you know, one person at one attraction, and to, you know, servers and, you know, people performing and showkeeping and guest services, just all those different roles all come together. We see a lot of those roles. So many of the different roles he had, I never would have thought about. I would not have thought about like who organized all of the things coming in to put into Disney rides and to build Epcot and stuff. Like, I mean, did you ever think about that? Like, was there, you know, it's like today when you have a bunch of Amazon packages coming or, you know, your like UPS store box, if you have a box somewhere, when you just have a bunch of, I just can't imagine the logistics of having, you know, he said everything down to like pencils and like all kinds of things that had the system coded to like go into a ride. So they had to receive all of these items, organize them, and then prepare them to go build rides and lands and things. So that was a really neat perspective. I love efficiency and systems and organization. So I was very fascinated by all of that. So let's just hop in. I have a few pages turned over here, my little corners. So the fact that Walt hired him, I thought was just so precious. What I thought was really neat about that grand thing, you know, Walt Disney hiring this person, someone who passed so long ago, who is the most influential person in all of Disney everything, you know, Walt Disney, the person. From him to go, from Tom Nabbe to go from like being hired by him and doing, you know, a performance role, which I can't wait to talk about, and just the long career he had as a cast member and all the different contributions he made, you know, a lot of it was like behind the scenes stuff after that. So he had like this really grand start, and was, you know, really like a child, and didn't have you know, the scope of the different things he did are just really interesting to me. The fact that he ended up, you know, asking like, can I be Tom Sawyer, for, you know, Walt to eventually say yes, and, you know, then that was in his entire life pretty much, right? Like he served in the military, but wow, did he ever imagine that that could be a lifelong career of that long? I mean, and far longer than most people even work, right? There's so many people that work at Disney that just work for just an incredibly long career. People celebrating 50 years with the company and stuff. I mean, especially this year at Walt Disney World with the 50th anniversary. Scarlett, come here, girl. Be right back. Oh, we just had a bath and we're very soft and very cuddly. So I loved that. I loved hearing his story from him about Walt hiring him and how that went, and the overall writing of the book felt so honest and I don't want to say unpolished because I think it's well written. I really enjoyed it. But it just felt very natural and really felt like someone was just telling you their own story. There were even some parts of it that were like, you know, okay, that's very honest. And I really appreciated that. A lot of the books that we read, a lot of Disney books and different biographies and stuff are just so like grand and so perfect almost. And this was just really, it felt like a home cooked meal. So I'll just be here laughing at myself if anyone needs me. So in there, in around when he was hired, there were some cute things. I love hearing about old Disneyland stuff. I didn't know a whole lot about old Disneyland. It's like a really special thing to me. Like it's just like this little treasure to read about, see pictures of, hear about Disneyland when it first opened. I don't know why. I just love like that picture of the world, this thing being created where people could just go and have fun, and it was like a brand new, totally different thing. Love it. And I love hearing about like the Frito-Lay restaurant when it opened. Like Fritos were around in the 50s. Like what? Yeah, a lot of that stuff just was so interesting. Like I know Coke's been around forever, but just some of the brands and stuff to hear how long they've been around. So without ruining any magic, I also was very surprised to read some of the stuff about like the Musketeers coming and, you know, what their parents did, the parents helping, being part of the show in a really special way that I just did not expect. The whole concept of Disney entertainment in the parks back then compared to what it is now. Even down to, you know, if you went to Star Wars weekends a few years ago, wow, they had all these cool, funny shows. Mickey would come out, he would be dressed as a Jedi and stuff. And then after Disney bought Star Wars, that they don't do that anymore. They wanted to take a different approach. They wanted to be more realistic because a lot of those shows were silly and fun, which I thought was great. I really liked it. I love the silly, funny side of the Star Wars film, so I enjoyed that in the park. But just to think about how they decided, like, we don't want to do, you know, this kind of mashup anymore because we take this so seriously and we want to tell this story fully and completely in such a detailed way, you know. And then to just think that when Tom Nabbe was hired as Tom Sawyer, he would be whatever character they would call him. The fact that he could be Tom Sawyer, or then he actually technically looked like Huckleberry Finn, right? And so the fact that that wasn't a big deal and nobody was like, look, you actually, this is the role you're playing, like these are the things you say. And wow, just like what a neat thought to think of, like what a simple time that he just was, what was he like? He was super young, right? I forget the exact age. Oh, was he like 12 or 13 when he started? I forget. But to be alone on that island with the guests and helping them fish and the different random things he had to do, in addition to like bringing that story to life, I just was really, you know, it was a different time. It was just so different. And it was fun to read about how just simple and relaxed it was. I think we can all agree that, you know, the level of sophistication we've reached with a lot of the storytelling, I'd prefer that, I think, today over this kind of, you know, silly shenanigans. But it was really, really cool to read about. I like to hear how it started and just think about how much it's changed and grown. And, you know, there are some things that I loved reading about that I wish were still a thing. Because, you know, Disney is very corporate now. It's changed so much over the years. It's kind of always been that way for me. I never really realized it until, you know, I was an adult, and thought about things like that. But we still love it. It's still a good time. Let's see. Another one of those quaint things that just totally surprised me was that he was asked to go deliver the press invites to come to Tom Sawyer Island, right? It was the launch of the island that they were, yeah. So the fact that they said, like, yeah, just tell your mother to dress you like Tom Sawyer. Like, he didn't even have a costume. I mean, I guess it was really a simple look, right? I haven't read that book, which I know is like kind of a classic, but I really don't actually even know anything about Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn except for what you see like at Magic Kingdom or Disneyland. But it's not even at Disneyland anymore. So it's like a pirate island, I think, right? I don't know that I've gone to it. Jim, have we gone to that island?
I think so.
We love the canoe. Well, I love the canoe, and Jim tolerates it because I love it. There's the canoe rides around that body of water there. All right, we're on a tangent. So, the fact that he had to go and personally deliver himself, it doesn't sound like anyone drove him around to, you know, people, writers' houses and stuff. He just went on his own to, you know, as a child, deliver these press invites. Okay, wow. I told Jim, like, how it's just wild because those are like the most important people that are gonna come in terms of marketing. That is, the press was everything back then. And to put that kind of responsibility and trust on this child, I don't know. Wild to think about, just like a kid knocking on your door and, you know, inviting you to come to a press event at Disneyland. They don't do it like that today. So yeah, I read a lot of this recently, and then I read just a small amount a while ago. So some of it is fresher than other things. I like that this was a pretty easy read too. Like, so from coast to coast, him coming over, this is page 53 if anyone has it and is following along. I first of all was really sad for him that happened with the car accident, and that he hurt his knee so badly and then wasn't able to in the military. He really has an interesting story. I'm always amazed to find out how many people, especially back then, that worked at like the Disney studio or the, you know, Disneyland in its original times, were also service members and served. It was just like, I guess more people did that back then because there was a lot more going on, and yeah, I don't know, but it's just like a common theme, you know. And then I thought it was really interesting that he shared that like a lot of the management people at Disneyland in the beginning were USC former football players, which is just really interesting. Like, I guess, you know, was it one of those things where someone was somebody's buddy? I know, like, Ron Miller, who was Walt Disney's daughter's husband, you know, was a USC football player, I think is what I read. And so maybe that was the connection to have the other people come as well. I don't know, but it's funny, kind of like the very hometown feel of like, oh, we all know each other from this and that kind of thing. So when he talks about moving over to Orlando and Disney World, you know, thinking about Central Florida at that time, there just wasn't a lot here, right? Hearing him talk about how it was like difficult to make ends meet a few different ways, you know, over the book, he talked about it in his youth with his mom when she lost her job, and then him as a cast member doing like some of these, like, you know, more leadership type roles and still struggling to figure it out sometimes. I liked the honest read. And then I really appreciated him like talking about some of the different things he wanted to do that he didn't get to do, like the ski resort. And that he tells you right exactly where he moved, like the Pine Hills area, and how much he paid, $205 a month for their mortgage. It's just really cute. I also really liked that he says like we moved to Florida around the 27th or 28th of January 1971. Like, he doesn't remember the exact date, and he's not going to make it up. He just tells you, you know, it's around here. And I really like that. I like that he didn't remember some things. I mean, this is a long time. This is a whole life, you know? And so I liked that authentic feel that it gave. Okay, one of the things that I'm so excited about, and I'm also gonna just like put this in my story, and I already talked to Jim about it, when he mentioned that the monorail beams were coming over and a few fell off the train and they were like behind and had to open Walt Disney World and needed that to be done, and that they made new beams that weren't a perfect match, and you could tell then and you can still tell now where they are. So he said, when you're coming out of the Contemporary on the monorail headed toward Magic Kingdom, headed north, you feel like a little, I forget what he said, but like, I think I know what he's talking about, but he said that there's like a little thump thump, like you feel it, let me see. Yeah, you feel a little transition as you roll over these two beams. Everybody has to look for that now. Come back and comment or send me a message if you're riding the monorail and you feel that, and now you know why it's like that. That's pretty cool. So, moving on a little bit to my first year at Disney World, I marked something on page 74. Okay, talking about well, first of all, walking the beams I thought was wild. And I think this was the part. Okay, I'm not sure if it's here or somewhere else where he's talking about his crowd control work and like guest flow and all that kind of stuff. That's extremely hard, extremely important work. That literally changes everything. If you're like in the park and it's busy and you're just stuck in a crowd, like trying to get to an area, anytime that you're stopped in a crowd, you're just like, what's going on? Like, you immediately are taken out of the experience because everyone has places they're trying to get, places they're, you know, shows they're trying to see or rides they want to get on and stuff. So just thinking about the importance of this like original setting up and building of things, and how the monorail and the different transportation forms play into that important flow of people. I thought, I was trying to see why I marked this page in particular, but this is reminding me that I don't want to forget to talk about the numbers that he shared about how many people can technically get out of Magic Kingdom, and like how long it takes for those people to leave on the forms of transportation that they had. I found really fascinating, and I think that's another page, because that is still an issue today. And right now especially, it's an issue. It's just always difficult to leave Magic Kingdom because, you know, where else are you with, you know, 20, 40, 60,000 people trying to go somewhere at the same time? It's just like, of course there's going to be, you know, backups and stuff. And I think Disney does a really good job overall, but that's like one of the pain points still of the park today. And even worse now these days, like trying to leave Magic Kingdom can be really difficult. And they just have so many, you know, switchbacks and the queue and stuff. So hearing him talk about how that was such an important part of what they were doing, and I want to say, I remember him saying how long it took to get the people out. It would take, you know, it was like 18,000 people an hour or something, and that was using all the monorails they had at the time, and they didn't have the ferry yet. So now with the ferry, I'm sure it's even more. But just thinking about those logistics, like when I worked at Star Tours, that was in like 2012 for like a year. I knew like how many people, you know, efficiency is like a real thing. It's really important to try and get as many people on as you can comfortably, safely, so that people have a shorter wait and more people can experience the thing. Yeah, but I really am into that stuff. I also just love numbers. I love like crunching numbers and, you know, I don't know, all those little puzzles with numbers. So I enjoyed hearing about that and how that was one of their first issues and how it's still like an issue today. This book made me cry, and I'll tell you why. Because I think I've reached it. Having Jimmy Carter in the park was pretty cool, and the fact that people like just like shoved money in the register because the shops weren't open. That would never happen today. The shop will always be open. But yeah, this last part, and all the pictures are so great in here. But this whole last part about Tom Nabbe getting his window, and like, I love what they put for him, which, you know, they have different like titles and different like, it's not like a business, but it's like a, well, some of them are businesses, like the singing business, you know, that's like a business. Hi, Megan. So all the different Main Street windows and the different types of details they have on there, like this is Sawyer Fence Painting Co. So that's like, you know, tribute business. The proprietor, Tom Nabbe, and then they put Lake Buena Vista, Florida and Anaheim, California, and now I totally need to go and see that. So that's on the cinema. I love that, and I definitely was a little, my eyes teared up when he said the window dedication ceremony was held a couple of months after my retirement. The mayor of Main Street was there to lead the ceremony along with the big boss Mickey. So obviously got upset about that, but I also just felt like that was really amazing that this man had this long and this incredible career at Disney, and felt like he was gonna mention that the mayor was part of his ceremony. I mean, to get his Main Street window, he cared enough about the mayor being there to include that in his memoir of his life. So that was really nice. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the citizens of Main Street, and I would love to see them at Magic Kingdom again. And I just thought that was so special that I mean, this is like the last page of the book. I had no idea. I didn't know he included that in this book. And so then I get to the last page and he said that, and I just, yeah. And then the beautiful surprise where he talked about getting the Disney Legends Award and not knowing because he wasn't at home, and he was celebrating Disneyland's 50th. So neat. I just felt really special, warm and cozy reading this book. I couldn't believe I met this person. So Tom Nabbe, look for him and other, Disney legend type people that, I mean, whether they are an official Disney legend, have been, received that award and prestigious honor, or if they just are a person that, like, there's a lot of people that go to different conventions and Disney events and stuff that share their stories, and I want to treasure these people so much. So if you bought this book, thank you. Like, I just think everybody should buy this book and read it, and like read about his story, and just a very honest look like at his career at Disney. Like, how cool is that? So neat. I thought it was a great book. I loved it. If you're thinking about reading it, it's also on Amazon, but it's on his website. Yeah, and thank you for watching and hanging out. Scarlett is sleeping away here, and I'm gonna have to wake her up. So thanks for watching. She's like, are you talking to me? So I don't have another book club book lined up at the moment. I think we're gonna take another break for the rest of this year, now that it is, we're coming into busy holiday season time. But we will read some more books next year. If you have any recommendations, you're welcome to leave them in a comment here, message me, and yeah, thank you for everyone who is here and for everyone who is watching later on. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you again in another book club meeting. So yeah. All right, have a magical day.